October 15th, 2016 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers Building. Deputy City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pratt.
Here.
Councilmember Allen.
Here.
Councilmember Hauge.
Here.
Councilmember Norman.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pfeiffer.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here. Thank you. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Debbie, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Love that patriotism there. Okay, a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during this summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Mr. Bartosh.
Madam Mayor, council members, a little bit of sad news, and we got an email on this. One of our library employees, Ann Roberts, unexpectedly passed away last week, 47 years old, and she was on her way out to work and collapsed, and so we don't know all the details at this time, but we did send the family flowers on behalf of the council and the city. Also, Officer Scarum represented the city at the funeral services for the Sholo officer that was killed again last week. And then on to maybe a little brighter news. The annual turkey drive is next Monday at Fry's from 1 to 5. And is that the one, Vice Mayor, where you climb up the ladder?
Yeah.
And so our fire department will be out there collecting turkeys. And if you haven't noticed, our crews are busy putting up the Christmas displays, the Christmas lights, and we'll have those operational for the Thanksgiving weekend. So for all our visitors coming to town. And then Councilmember Allen and I went down to a meeting today to discuss water and the cooperation that needs to occur between urban areas and rural areas, and I'll have more for you in the management report, but I thought it was a worthwhile event, and the overarching goal is to create a fund that will help do projects up in the watershed areas that maintain the rivers and ensure that they have a flow that continues. So it was a good discussion, a lot of good ideas, and I anticipate that there'll probably be additional meetings down the road. That's it, Madam Mayor.
All right. Council, what's going on in your lives? Mr. Pratt.
Well, first of all, we had another successful walking on Main Street this weekend. I think it was the best one yet, and it attracted a lot of people from out of town. And one of the interesting things people say to me from other small towns, in spite of some of the comments we hear in public, they say, we want to be like you. We use you as a model. People really appreciate what's happened in our city. And I think it says a lot about the cooperation between the council, the administration of the city, citizens, and it's just great to hear that. It makes me feel really, really proud to be a Cottonwoodian when I hear that. I just attended an event at Cottonwood High College and representing the English department, and it was well attended by our citizens, and even our diminutive vice mayor was up there with Council Member Norman.
For a moment, I thought you said demented.
What's that?
That too.
I heard demented when you started.
Demented, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a slip of the tongue, a Freudian slip.
Watch it. She can hurt your ankles if she bites them.
I'd also like to say that this is my last meeting as an official city council member, and I've really been honored to represent the citizens of Cottonwood for 9 years. I really have appreciated working with all my fellow council members, both present and past. We didn't always agree, but I think we've done a lot of good things for Cottonwood. I've been honored to serve on the council under the tenure of Mayor Diane Jones for 9 years, and I think she can look back and look at what has happened in Cottonwood in 9 years. And Mayor, you were a big part of that, so I thank you for being able to serve you.
Thank you very much.
And I also want to say, when I first got on the council, I watched our diminutive, not demented, vice mayor, and I used her as a role model, and she didn't know that. But I watched the way she conducted herself at meetings. She would always read her packet. I called it doing your homework. She never asked questions that were answered in the packet. She always was very thoughtful. And so, Karen, you didn't know it, but you really were my role model, and I followed your lead, and hopefully I was an effective council member by doing that, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. That deserves a hug. We can do that at your last meeting. You know.
Okay. Should I go to my knees? And I also want to say how much I appreciated working with staff. I think we have a great staff, top to bottom, in the city of Cottonwood. But I worked with Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Rooney, Mr. Faust, and they were all just really, really good people, and I appreciated my time with you. And I think we have one of the very best city managers in the state of Arizona. And Doug, I really appreciated working with you. And again, I think if you look back at your tenure as city manager, where we are now compared to when you started, you've been a real asset to Cottonwood, and I've always appreciated working with you. So thank you, and thanks to all the citizens. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's great. So I just wanted to share that the Verde Valley Military Service Park will be having a prime rib dinner fundraiser at the Clarkdale Moose Lodge on Saturday, January 28th, 2017, from 5 to 9 p.m. Tickets are $30, and they can be purchased by calling Alice Statman or Pam Van Winkle. Help build the Verde Valley Military Service Park and make sure that all veterans from the Verde Valley are forever honored. All proceeds from the fundraiser will benefit our 501c3 nonprofit organization. And I would just share, too, a little bit, I think Terrence said just about anything that I would say. If you just look at where a council that worked well together, even though they didn't always agree, but they always had the heart for the citizens of the community that they served. And not only the citizens, but those who live outside of the city. This council is often thinking about folks that live all over the Verde Valley and making decisions that benefit all people. I do remember that we were a little bit behind on streets when I became a council member, and I had remembered a survey that was done probably in the 1990s where the citizens had said the most important thing to them were streets and sidewalks. And so the council has, built a number of streets in the past 13 years. I've been on council 13 years, 9.5 years as mayor. And I just want to thank the council for the infrastructure, not only streets and roads, but water infrastructure that you've all made decisions to improve, and other infrastructures, wastewater. And one of my proudest accomplishments, along with the citizens and the council and our really awesome staff, because really, I always say, I don't know how to drive a fire truck, and I don't know how to arrest a person, and I don't know how to do, to bury a purple pipe so that it works. But the reason that we can do these things is because of our staff, because they have the expertise to put these projects together on behalf of our citizens. And so I would also like to thank our city manager. I think that if you look at the wine industry, the things that you yourself thought would be great for Cottonwood, and you went after it with a supportive council. And your staff supported it, and the businesses were amazing. So it's just been a collaboration of citizens, businesses, and the city, and the council, the staff. So I'm really proud of, like I said, the conservation, and this council made a decision to take pseudoephedrine off the shelves and put it behind the counter. And we saw our Part 1 crimes, go down 40% after we did that. And it was a difficult decision because we were then, the Attorney General, the State Attorney General came after this council, said you can't do that. But eventually the state also passed such a law, and the rest is history. But this council has always been forward-thinking, had the ability to look ahead. There's been a lot of criticism about overspending, and I want you to know that what we do on 3% sales tax is a tough act, because we provide services that other cities and towns don't. And I have a list of them, but for instance, not all cities and towns provide fire service. We provide fire service. Not all cities and towns have a recreation center, which comes into play when you count our number of employees. We have many part-time employees so that we can keep that rec center running. Not every city and town, and in fact, few cities and towns have an airport that they have to manage. And even the one in Sedona belongs to Yavapai County. The city really doesn't have to do anything in their budget to support an airport. There's a half a dozen more things that we do that many other cities and towns don't, and we do that all on a 3% sales tax. And yes, it's difficult, but I do get feedback that people who live in and around Cottonwood very much enjoy living here. They enjoy the amenities that are there for their families and their parents and their kids. And so I'm just very proud to have been a part of a team, including the citizens of Cottonwood, and I have to say that I'm ready. Today I was like, I gotta read my packet, but I'd rather cook something. And I haven't been in my kitchen for 9 years, so you know, things are changing. And my husband's very thrilled. But I have to say, I've read so many packets, whether they're 200 pages or 400 pages. And today I was like, I don't have to read any more packets unless I would like to, just to keep up to date. Council members, incoming council members, will find out that it's a lot of work to be a council member. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of interactions with the public, and it takes a lot of time. And I don't think sometimes the public understands just how much you give, how much of your time yourselves, and even how much your family gives, so that you can do this. And it's not always fun, but it's very rewarding. And I'll always remember with joy, you know, the things that have been accomplished in our city with all of us working together. And with the new council, I have every assurance, and I'm positive that the city will move forward in a positive way, because we have good people that are going to be serving. So with that, we'll...
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
And if I could, just on behalf of the staff, I can assure you that both you and Terrence will be greatly missed. I know the staff has really enjoyed working with both of you, and we hope to see you around often.
Well, we'll be around. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of about 100 activities, but I've decided to stay on the Governor's Council on Aging because I am a graduate of the Flynn Brown Leadership Academy, and I do have an obligation to them to do something on a statewide level. And I'll be staying with the Verde Valley SciTech Festival at least during the time that we're getting a $200,000 grant that will be stretched out over 4 years. And I must admit, I did try to get out of that, but Jeremy Babbinger, who's pretty much said that, you know, we need someone to work on this grant or else we're not going to get it. And I just thought, And the city of Cottonwood, I'd like to thank Doug and Rudy. You guys have been awesome. Doug's supporting Rudy, but Rudy has really made a difference with getting, I mean, it's a regional effort, and getting all the communities together to work on this. And it's science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you add the arts, it's STEAM instead of STEM. But the fact is this is about the community. It's not about the schools and the kids. They're involved, but this is about the community. Because if we don't support our children learning science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, there's a global workforce now, and our kids aren't going to get the jobs that are going to be available. This is why it's important to me, and I think why it's important to Rudy and why Doug supports it, that this is important. And I'll be also staying with Stewards of Public Lands. I'm the chair of that. We don't do a whole lot, but Todd Willard said that he would like to do 2 cleanups a year in the Prescott National Forest. Since 2004, the Stewards of Public Lands have pulled 350 tons of stuff, junk, trash, boats. We could set up housekeeping, we were sure. Boats and all, cars. The city of Cottonwood has been a huge supporter of the Stewards of Public Lands, and in fact even did a cleanup out in Black Canyon Wash where they took one of our vehicles and pulled old vehicles out of the wash. And some of them were burned. And you have to think about it. If somebody's burning up cars out there, how much would it take for a fire to just run right up Mingus Mountain? So I appreciate everything. The city's lent equipment to help these cleanups, and appreciate that very much. And of course, I couldn't leave the Verde Valley Military Service Park. That project will eventually be done, but until it is, I'll stay working on that. So I have enough to keep my mind busy, but I'll be able to do some other things that I enjoy also. So thank you all very much. Okay, so introduction of new employees, and we have Elena, did I say that right? Elena Avila, Communication Specialist.
I'm the one with the noisy child in the back.
Oh, well, we love
She's
young participants in government.
All right, Madam Mayor, Council, my name is Ashley Sin. I'm a supervisor with the Cottonwood Public Safety Communications Center, and it is our pleasure to introduce Elena Avila, who started employment with the City of Cottonwood on...
Pull the mic down.
Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. From the beginning?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. This is Elena Avila, and she started employment with the City of Cottonwood on October 17th. Prior to her employment, she was employed with Chase Bank and lives in the village of Oak Creek with her husband and young daughter in the back. Elena speaks Spanish fluently and predominantly in the household, and we're excited to have her on our team, and she's been a great addition so far.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. So what do you think about your new job? Yes, because otherwise our television public can't hear you.
Okay. I love it so far. It's very different. I was a banker with Chase prior to this, so it's very different, but I like working there so far.
Well, we really appreciate that. We know it's a tough job, and you just have to be a special kind of person to do it, and we appreciate it. We appreciate your willingness to learn that job and serve the citizens of the whole Verde Valley and Sedona, and good luck. We wish you well.
Thank you. I'm excited.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, we need a photo. Did you got your camera, Mary? So, Doug? You know, for Rudy's Facebook page.
My last photo with Ashley was I was stabbing her in the stomach
Oh, no.
during Halloween.
You're also a bad guy in the video.
Thank you, thank you, Ashley. We appreciate you too. Okay, the next item is proclamations. Proclaiming November 2016 as American Diabetes Month. Is there anyone here to get this proclamation tonight? I don't think so. Okay, whereas in the United States, nearly 30 million people, including 1 in 9 in Arizona, have diabetes, a serious disease with potentially life-threatening complications such as heart disease, stroke, blindness, kidney disease, and amputation. And whereas an additional 86 million people in the United States are at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. And whereas approximately every 23 seconds, someone in the United States is diagnosed with diabetes. And whereas an increase in community awareness is necessary to put a stop to the diabetes epidemic. Whereas an increase in community awareness is necessary to put a stop to the whoops, said that twice, but that's important, right? Diabetes epidemic. Now therefore, I, Diane Jones, Mayor of Cottonwood, Arizona, do hereby proclaim November 2016 to be American Diabetes Month in Cottonwood, Arizona, and encourage all Americans to recognize American Diabetes Month and be part of the American Diabetes Association's Stop Diabetes movement to confront, fight, and most importantly, change the future of this deadly disease. Dated this 15th day of November 2016. And here I go. I am signing my last proclamation. Okay, next item. Presentations. Women of the Year 2016 charities, representation of checks to the Verde Valley Sanctuary and 100 Club of Arizona. So just to share a little bit with you, we recognize 20 women, and we have actually one person who was a Woman of the Year, Susie Beach, and then a person on the committee, which is Alice Kleiss. And they are here tonight to help give out these checks. But the 2016 Women of the Year Awards charities, I selected 2 charities to receive an equal percentage of the proceeds of the Women of the Year Awards event. The Verde Valley Sanctuary, who offers a safe haven for victims of family violence and sexual assault, providing shelter, community outreach, legal advocacy, and education and prevention. And the 100 Club of Arizona, who provides immediate financial assistance to families of public safety officers, firefighters, and hotshots who are seriously injured or killed in the line of duty, and to provide resources to enhance their safety and welfare. And there were 20 awardees, and you can read about them and why they were chosen on womenoftheyear.com. But the women were, start out here with Susan Beach, who's here tonight, of Verde Village, Ann Browning of Clarkdale, Michelle Jerison of Jerome and Cottonwood, Barbara Luttrell of Sedona, Bernadette Myers of Cottonwood, Elaine Bremner of Clarkdale, Stephanie Purington of Cottonwood, Rebecca Riffle of Cottonwood, Penny Spillman of Cottonwood, Jerry Stronde of Cottonwood, Pam Van Winkle of Cottonwood, Chris Vogler of Verde Village, Lindsay Oxendale of Clarkdale, Robin Prudhomme Bauer of Clarkdale, Joanne Johnson, Village of Oak Creek, Linda Heidenreich, Jerome, Brenda Hauser, Camp Verde, Terry Frankel, Sedona, Cindy Emmett of Clarkdale, Cammie Dowling of Clarkdale, and those are the 20. And so if we can get, we have with us tonight Elizabeth Fulbright from the Verde Valley Sanctuary, and we have J.P. Vincente of the 100 Club. If Alice and Susie, if you could come up along with you, we'll present your checks. few words too, if you can. But we'll go ahead and give you, we have $650 for the Verde Valley Sanctuary. Grab that. And we have $650 for the 100 Club. And it's not quite as much as when our City of Cottonwood firefighters and police department have the golf tournament. We usually pay about 10, maybe, was it 13 this year?
It was 12 this year.
12 this year. So it's not quite as much, but every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. So yes, if the two of you would like to say a few words about your organizations, that would be great.
Thank you, Mayor Jones, council members. She summed it up when she said what we offer. We are a 28-bed facility offering emergency housing for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, as well as homeless when we have the available space. We have an education department. We go into the schools and talk to kids about cultivating compassion, having healthy relationships, building self-esteem. We have 2 thrift stores, Second Chance here in Cottonwood and Twice Nice in Sedona, ways that the community helps the shelter without even realizing it maybe at times. We also have a legal advocacy office, helping, we're not lawyers, but we help offer support and just being someone that they can take to court with them and be by their side. That can be very scary. It's contributions like this, Mayor Jones, that they're vital to our very existence and increasingly so now. So I just want to thank you. It's very humbling when the community does things like this. We went to Main Stage and we were there when they did the awards for all the powerful, important, successful, inspiring women in our community. So I just want to say thank you for doing this also. We weren't expecting this. We thought we got all of the toiletries and we brought them to shelters, so there was all sorts of things that were helpful to the families that we serve. And now with the holidays upon us, this will come in very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, citizens of Cottonwood, City Manager. My name is J.P. Vicente, and again, representing the Hunter Club of Arizona. First off, I'd like to say I've had a little bit of interaction with Diane Jones in just a couple of events, and being a retired fireman from the city of Prescott and being involved in small town politics, Prescott's not a small town anymore in my eyes, and it's really, really neat to be able to come and sit in your council chambers and enjoy the neat uniqueness that you have. You know, it just makes my heart warm. But your leadership obviously has been incredible for this community. And for your community here and those who've worked in council and all that. So I got to say, you know, I recognized it when I talked to you before that you were coming to the end of your term and time to do some things differently, but yet staying involved to make sure your community with things that are prioritized to you, which I think that the Cottonwood community, the central Arizona area here, by far has really done some incredible things with your leadership. And you know, you may not have seen me around, but you know, we pay attention from the other side of the hill, and I do come here quite often. And this is my little tourist area, so I get out of the big city now of Prescott and come here to get a little bit of small town juice because I grew up in Prescott. My family's been in Arizona since 1903, so I understand that. So I just want to thank you personally. And I wish you well with your endeavors, and your community has been very fortunate. The Hunter Club of Arizona represents an organization. It's a 501c3 charity, and what I think is important, especially for small towns to understand, is when you do events like you did, and to recognize the Hunter Club and the other local charity, you keep your money at home. And so you need to understand with the Hunter Club of Arizona, you're keeping your money at home. And an example would be is Darren Reed, who was just killed in Sholo, a police officer of a small town community just like this. It happens everywhere. It just doesn't happen in Phoenix. It doesn't happen in Tucson. It just doesn't happen in Los Angeles or New York. It can happen anywhere. And the Hunter Club of Arizona is first charity and legitimate charity to respond. Within 12 hours, we were at the family's residence offering assistance, and will continue to do so for multiple years. And what people will need to understand is every dollar, regardless of the amount, allows the Hunter Club to do those things. And we don't just, tragedies are certainly what we go do, but we just don't, the Hunter Club just doesn't do that. We're here to support the community. There's stipends out there for safety equipment that your community, your firefighters, your police officers may have been recipients from, and from grants that we offer, from educational grants for their children, to if somebody gets injured and again killed in the line of duty. So I just want you to know, and your community to understand, that your dollars aren't going to somewhere in the dust in Phoenix, Arizona. They're staying in local communities, and when needed, they'll be there for those public safety employees. And so if you ever have a situation, and we pray that you don't, from injury to the tragedy of a loss of life of one of your public safety employees, you need to understand and know that the Hunter Club of Arizona will be the first one to respond, and we'll be here to support your community and support those public safety people, and that's very important. But I also want you to know, on a heavier note, is that the leadership and what happens in Cottonwood, I want you to know this: the Verde Valley Fire and Police Golf Tournament and this check right here makes Cottonwood, the Cottonwood area, the highest contributor of raised funds for the Hunter Club of Arizona in northern Arizona. You need to understand and know that. That's the impact that Cottonwood has that you guys really don't. You got big Flagstaff up there. You got big Prescott Valley, Lake Havasu, Bullhead City. A lot of very communities that have a lot more money than Cottonwood does. But what's unique about you is you guys are so close-knit, and I've said this to you before, Mayor Jones, so close-knit, and you look out for your community, and you are doing right by your public safety people, not only across the state, but for your own personal ones here in Cottonwood by what you do. So I just want you guys to know that, and we're very grateful and humbled that you would include us in anything that happens in Cottonwood. Feel free to always call the Hunter Club. We're always available, and we just don't even have the words to thank you. And again, we wish you well in your endeavor.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for being with us tonight. Next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action. Comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. Would anyone from the public like to speak this evening about an item that's not on the agenda? If not, we'll close the floor to the public and move on. Approval of the minutes. Any comments or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Pratt?
I move to approve the minutes of October 27th and November 1st.
Second.
I think, who was first? I think she was.
Stereo.
Okay. Mr. Pratt made the motion and Councilmember Norman seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Comments regarding an item listed on the agenda are limited to a 5-minute time period per speaker. Unfinished business. Item number 1, ordinance number 622, amending the zoning map of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona for 5 parcels of land totaling approximately 100.83 acres, located east of the intersection of Groseta Ranch Road and State Route 89A. Parcel numbers 40632-080P, 40623-036V, 40632-036W, 40632-174B, and 40632-174C, so as to change certain district boundaries and classifications thereof from the present zoning of PAD, Planned Area Development, as approved per ordinance number 408 on November 20th, 2001, to an alternative PAD zone, second and final reading. Mr. Scully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. This is the second reading of Ordinance 622 for the Vineyards at Cottonwood project. I want to go over a little bit about the public process so far. The council heard the first reading 2 weeks ago when they had a presentation. Council also considered the item at an extended work session in September. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing in July. The applicants had a neighborhood meeting, which is a required part of the rezoning process, at the On the Greens Clubhouse, which is right next door to this proposed development. That was in May. There's also been a large sign posted on the facing 89A since April describing this proposal. Letters were sent to all the surrounding neighbors as required, and we had legal notices published in the paper. There's also been a series of newspaper articles, and as part of the similar part of this process, the next part is the subdivision process. There was also notification to all the surrounding jurisdictions, homeowners associations, school districts, utility providers. So there has been, I think, a considerable amount of outreach to inform the public of this process. Part of the history of this property was 15 years ago, it was rezoned for the Grisetta Ranch Master Plan, which had 144 acres. It was much more of a stronger element of commercial element of over 65 acres, and perhaps 35 acres of multi-unit residential. This project is just over 100 acres. It essentially has none of the commercial. It's mainly just all, there's maybe a cafe at a clubhouse, but it's primarily a mixed residential. It's potentially single-family townhouses and clustered homes. This as I said, it's just over 100 acres, and it's a change from the PAD that was approved 15 years ago that never got built. They never proceeded on that to this proposal. That also had maybe 10 driveways off of the 2-lane rural highway. Now with the divided highway, it's just got one means of access, so through the roundabout at Grisetta Ranch Road. So it's really changing it from the zoning that was more intensive in a number of ways, from the traffic and from the intensity of commercial use, to a neighborhood. They've got 30 acres of open space in the washes. Includes a walking pathway system that winds throughout the project. It also will eventually, in the second phase, they'll complete Grisetta Ranch Road from 89A to Main Street in Old Town, which has been part of the plan, as well as a walking path as well, connecting Old Town with this part of Cottonwood. As part of the ordinance, there's 37 conditions that are included in it, and it also, adoption of the ordinance also approves the master development plan, which you received as a binder copy, and there's been no changes since you received that copy. So that's also part of the approval of the rezoning. Once the rezoning goes through, the next part of the process will be the subdivision process. So the preliminary plat will come back to council at a future meeting, and the council will then have an opportunity to consider the final plat for the first phase again at another future meeting. And that's the summary of this project.
Okay. I'd like to ask either Clark Pettit or KJ Kassoon if you'd like to make any comments at all.
I feel like I know this plan as well as they do. We have been through it so many times.
We can walk you through it again, detail by detail.
Oh, please don't.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. We're very excited to be moving forward with the project, and we appreciate the support of the council and Madam Mayor and City Manager. I think you're going to address it, but there is an ongoing DA development agreement that's still under discussion, and so we're hoping to wrap that up fairly quickly. Assuming that gets locked up, then we're ready to proceed.
All right.
Any questions?
So, any questions? Okay.
For anybody out there in TV land and people here that think that things like this just pop out of the ground, you just heard from Charlie, that's not the way it happens. We have heard it a lot.
Yeah, this is about the third or fourth meeting
Or more.
that where this particular
Try
project.
15 years ago when Andy and I were in here together going over the first one.
Plus, we had a whole packet of reading material.
And plus,
Yes.
it's a planning and zoning, it's gone
Yeah.
before them, and so it's been discussed many times. Mr. Bartosh, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just for the record, we want to make it clear that if there isn't agreement on the development agreement, which we anticipate there will be, but just in case, that the zoning would revert back. And that's part of the stipulations in the rezoning process, that we agree upon a development agreement.
Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I also want to say that, as well as knowing the project really well, I think, again, it's a great project. I've said this before. It's an infill project, which I've been a big supporter of because it doesn't cause us to sprawl. It's going to have affordable housing, open space. And I really appreciate the fact that the developers have worked well with planning and zoning with us and did meet some of our requests for changes. And so really enjoyed working with you folks, and I think you're going to be an asset to the city of Cottonwood.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item? Like I said, it's been talked over many, many times, discussed and rediscussed, so Mr. Pratt.
Can I make this motion?
Please, would you?
I move to approve Ordinance 622, rezoning 100.83 acres to PAD zone for the vineyards at Cottonwood Development.
Second. So, Terrence Pratt made the motion, the mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we need to read, City Clerk, please read ordinance number 622 by title only.
Ordinance number 622, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning map of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona for 5 parcels of land totaling approximately 100.83 acres located east of intersection of Groseta Ranch Road and State Route 89A, APN 406-3208-0P, 406-23-036V, 406-32-036W, 406-32174B, and 406-32174C, so as to change certain district boundaries and classifications thereof from the present zoning of PID, Planned Area Development, as approved per Ordinance 408 on November 20th, 2001 to PID, Planned Area Development Zone. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Item number 1 is cooperative use of the City of Chandler's contract through the Save Purchasing Cooperative with Hennessy Mechanical, Inc. for the purchase of wastewater pumps, equipment, and repair services for the city's wastewater system. Mr. Biggs.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
We haven't seen you for a while. What have you been doing? It's pretty quiet on the waterfront. You used to be here every meeting.
I was. Things are going okay. So,
all right, great.
Hennessy Mechanical is the sole Arizona distributor of Fairbanks Morris and KSB municipal sewage pumps. We always talk about such interesting things when I come here.
We do.
These pumps are required at 4 of the 5 city lift stations that convey sewage from down here in the city up to the treatment plant on Mingus Avenue. The pumps range in size from 25 to 100 horsepower. These are expensive pumps. They wear out. They run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hennessy Mechanical has the ability not only to supply new pumps, but they also have repair services available to extend the lives of the pumps. They go through typically 3 or 4 different repair cycles before they're finally retired and replaced. The City of Cottonwood Utility Department desires to utilize the SAVE Cooperative Group to access a City of Chandler contract with Hennessy, which is the result of competitive procurement process. This process is authorized under ARS 412632. Staff is requesting that council review and award the cooperative use of the City of Chandler contract for the purchase and repair of wastewater pumps to Hennessy Mechanical Incorporated. Any questions?
Mr. Pratt?
This is probably the last time I'll ever say this. This is a no-brainer.
At least here.
This saves the city a lot of money. These people are the experts. So a no-brainer.
Any other comments? Any comments from members of the public on this particular item?
It kind of levels the playing field. Small cities, large cities, it's a good thing.
It is. Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the cooperative use of the City of Chandler contract through the SAVE Purchasing Cooperative for the purchase of wastewater pumps and related equipment and services from Hennessy Mechanical Incorporated.
Second.
Mr. Pratt made the motion, the vice mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, resolution number 2857, approving an agreement with Signature Public Funding Corp. for lease purchase financing for public safety vehicles and equipment, a street sweeper, and physical fitness equipment for the recreation center. Mr. Rodriguez.
Mayor and Council, we're coming to you for approval to enter into a lease purchase agreement with Signature. We originally thought we could not do this because this is not a bank qualified arrangement, because we have borrowed over $10 million for a refinance program, as you recall, to refinance the GOTA loan. Traditionally, when we do have a non-bank qualified lease purchase, it adds about 25 basis points or more to the lease purchase agreement, meaning it would cost us that much, a little bit more money. Signature Bank actually came in as our lowest bidder, and they are not worried about whether they have to ask for any more money. They just said it's 1.5, I believe 99%, and they have no additional points whether it's bank qualified or non-bank qualified. My question to Grant Hamill, our financial advisor, about this was, how can they do that? Well, apparently some banks go out and they do only bank qualified. Signature Bank obviously seems to have a group of investors out there that are willing to go ahead and take on a lease purchase program that's only a 5-year lease, and they're not too worried about the extra basis points. So basically, this bank potentially has an investment group that actually is willing to go ahead and fund this particular project, hence is why they don't add any additional points to it. In your packet, you should have a listing of the resolution and also the master agreement. We're looking at financing $1,194,732, and wanted to go ahead and mention a couple of things as we're going through this. One is that this is a single lease purchase, not a multiple lease purchase program, and contrary to some people's belief, it is only a 5-year lease, and no one would go out and do a 10-year or 15-year lease on something that the asset doesn't have that type of a life. You traditionally try to finance only for the life of what the equipment that you're going to use or less. In this case, some of the equipment we'll be buying usually goes a little bit longer, 5 years. Another thing I wanted to mention that this is in the fiscal year 2017 budget. It was talked about during the budget process, which is, as you know, posted on our city website. And this is a general fund debt. The city will use general fund excise taxes to pay this particular debt, consisting of state shared revenues, sales tax, fees, fines, and so forth. This is not a enterprise fund. None of this is enterprise equipment, so none of it will be charged off to an enterprise fund. Our water companies and our water users and our wastewater users will not be burdened with this particular debt. And wanted to also mention that basically the way we're paying for this is we have a lease purchase expiring January 1st of 2017, and all this will do will slide right in, and we'll continue those payments for another 5 years. The equipment that's needed, you may already have heard our street sweeper is DOA. It is at our shop, and we can't continue to repair that thing. It's costing us way too much money. We do need a street sweeper.
And plus, you did try, the council asked you to try to collaborate with other cities and towns, and you did do that also, and that didn't work out.
Correct. There was, liability issues, workman comp issues, a couple of other issues, and we just couldn't come to an agreement, and I think this is probably the best deal for us. As you know, we've tried to get contracted out. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for us either. You may recall we had the MS 150 or something that we had, the bike, 2-day bike event that had some issues because the contractor we had did not clean our streets properly before we had that event. Also wanted to mention that this debt will continue on our balance sheet as along with all the other debt that we have that's all posted on our city website. Again, the city has never, at least not as long as I've been, has ever burdened the wastewater water with its general fund obligations. And we've never burdened the general fund with the wastewater obligations. We've always kept them separate. They're both on our books, on our budget. They're both in our books, in our balance sheets, in our CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. All that information is up on our website. So we've been pretty open about this acquisition. It did go to the public for bidding, and we've got some really good bids. And fortunately, we've got a really good one from Signature Bank, and we'd like to go ahead and move forward with it.
And the fire engine, I mean, that's a very important thing to have, is enough fire trucks.
You did mention the fire engine. The fire engine basically is not necessarily fully outdated. Unfortunately, the company that built that fire truck, and most fire trucks in agencies are custom built, has gone bye-bye. No one bought it out. It actually has gone completely disappeared. We can't find parts for it. As a matter of fact, our fire chief contacts Phoenix Fire, who happens to have a slew of these somewhere in their backyard, and we actually contact them and other places trying to find parts to keep ours running. I doubt very much that when we put it up for auction that we get very much, because obviously that company's not around and parts aren't available for it, which makes it very important that we go ahead and replace that particular piece of equipment. We can't go out on a run with a piece of equipment that we don't know whether it's going to work or not.
So there's probably no legal way, Mr. Legal Eagle, there's no legal way to prevent that from happening again? Where someone sells us a lemon fire truck and disappears and...
No, I can't imagine there being a contract for a corporation to stay in business. These companies come and go.
So maybe for parts, someone will buy it for parts, but probably wouldn't pay very much for it. Someone else that has a fire truck that needs to keep it going, but
We'll be in the same position we are, though.
We're not the only ones in this
Yeah.
predicament.
Pretty sad, but anyway, it's not the fault of anyone in the city, for sure, and we have to have a fire truck. I mean, that's,
This seems like a wise investment to me.
yes. So, are there any comments from members of the public on this item? Any more questions from members of the council? So I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 2857, awarding the contract for capital equipment financing services to Signature Public Funding Corporation, and to authorize the Administrative Services General Manager to complete the transaction.
Second.
Mr. Pratt made the motion and the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Deputy Clerk, please read resolution number 2857 by title only.
Resolution number 2857, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, authorizing the incurring of lease obligations in the amount not to exceed $1,194,732 to be evidenced by the execution delivery of a master equipment lease purchase agreement, an escrow agreement, and an equipment schedule with respect to the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment for the public benefit, authorizing the execution and delivery of documents required in connection therewith, and authorizing the taking of all actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention that the interest rate, if I recall from reading it, was 1.59.
1.59, I believe. 9.
Yeah.
That's thereabouts.
Those kinds of opportunities are probably not going to happen forever.
No, they really aren't. Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you very much. So claims and adjustments.
I move we pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
Councilmember Norman made the motion to pay the claims, and the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I move to adjourn.
Second.
The Mayor made the motion, and Councilmember Allen seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. My last historic meeting.